Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I am so glad you're here. If you're into true crime, you like to cut past sensationalism and fluff and bloviation and all that stuff, just kind of get into the nitty gritty, you've found the right place, and I'm glad you have. My name is Gavin. Thank you very much for being here. I have, admittedly, a interesting title to this video tonight. I had it titled something else, but I just couldn't help myself, man. What has come out over the last few days, about a week, is that a poem that was penned by Stephan Sterns, this guy, was found by his jailers, and I want to get into it just a little bit. I mean, I am no poet. You will never see poetry written by yours truly because I'm just so bad at it. But I have to say, Mr. Sterns is no Shakespeare. He's written kind of a strange, refrainy kind of a poem in that quatrain style. It's just really, really bad. But I also think that there's more to it. So why don't we hop in? But before we do, let's just remind ourselves who we're talking about here, okay? We are talking about Madeline Soto. Madeline Soto was a 13-year-old girl who was reported missing just a couple of days, well, the day after her 13th birthday party. It turns out that she didn't show up to school because she was dead and had been summarily and unceremoniously dumped next to a bamboo hedge in a field out in the St. Cloud area of Central Florida. Her mother, Jennifer Soto, had an on-again, off-again boyfriend at the time. He was off again, a man named Stephan Sterns, 37 years old at the time. I think he's had a birthday since, might be 38 now. He has been charged, he was arrested, and he's been charged with her murder. But beyond her murder, he has been charged with 60 counts related to the prolonged 5-year abuse that he put Madeline through the last 5 years of her short 13 years on Earth. So this guy, if he did what the police say he did, and I believe that he did, he is one of the worst to walk amongst us. And yesterday I had a live stream with Beth Meeks, who has a master's degree in forensic psychology, and she's an expert witness on the subject. She talked a lot about Stephan's, not brilliance, but his ability to fit in and to choose targets and things like that. And so this is not an unintelligent person, though I think this poem is going to maybe, as we kind of get into it, maybe we're not going to be so impressed with Mr. Sterns' intelligence. I think I titled this video, Stephan Sterns as an idiotic dillhole. And there were a couple of you that are like, what is a dillhole? Let me see if Jamie, our intrepid moderator, let's bring that up, and let's bring Matt. This shirt hides everything. So I went to high school in Orangevale, California, graduated class of 93 from Casa Roble Fundamental High School. And I had a teacher, Mr. Thorner, he was my photography teacher. I took his classes for 4 years, loved the guy, had a way with words. And when we were acting the fool, when we were acting like teenagers, he would call us dillholes. And I just thought that it was the most descriptive word for people who are idiots ever. And most of the time it was me being the idiot that would be called the dillhole. It is stuck. It is, I love the word. I love the word. And I think it perfectly describes Mr. Sterns. I think that guy is a dillhole. I think he's an idiot, and I think that we're going to find out why tonight when we head right on over here and take a look at this report. Okay, this report is coming out of the Osceola County Corrections Department. Mr. Sterns has been in the Osceola County Jail since his arrest shortly after Madeline went missing. And he started out under observation because of the nature of the case. In fact, I think, well, you can't really see it in either of these. That's the first one. It's like a paper thing that he's wearing. This one, he's wearing something else. But sometimes people who are put on observation for their own safety are put in what is called a turtle suit. It is something to keep their dignity, is what they say in the profession, but it really is made so that they can't harm themselves when they're wearing it. It's just too thick to make anything out of it. Anyway, so he was on that kind of observation for a little while, and then he was put into a regular pod with other prisoners. I'm sure that Mr. Sterns is not the most popular guy in the pod, probably not the most popular guy in the jail. But in July, so this report is from July 29th, there was a search of his cell. Now, there are two different narratives here, and I believe they are from the same person, the same corrections officer, Mr. Vargas or Ms. Vargas. I can't tell. And they tell the same story slightly differently each time. But I want to I want to go over this report, and then we're gonna scroll down. I mean, we have the poem that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute, okay? So let's go back up here and let's go ahead and read Corrections Officer Vargas's narrative, the first one. Okay, on the above date and approximate time, so we're talking 2:50 p.m. on July 29th of this year, I was assigned as the C-Pod Housing Unit Officer. At approximately 2:50 p.m., I was conducting random cell searches in Charlie Pod, C-Pod. Let's see. While searching the cell of inmate Stephan Sterns, number 1419688. Do you think he has a song like Valjean? 24601. Probably not. I noticed some yellow pieces of notebook paper. This caught my attention because yellow paper is not common in our facility. After finishing the search of the cell, I asked another officer to confirm the presence of the yellow paper, and he also found it unusual. Just as we were about to wrap up, Corporal Dinko entered the pod. Corporal Dinko is not to be confused with Mr. Dillhole. They're two different people. One is a corrections officer, one is an inmate. So Corporal Dinko entered the pod. I inquired with her about whether yellow paper was permitted. She wasn't certain and asked to see the papers in question. I then requested inmate Sterns to hand over the papers, which he did. By the way, I can just pause here for a second. It does seem to me that Stephan Sterns is a docile and obedient, submissive inmate. That's just my take based on the reports I've read, the telephone calls we've heard. I think that he's pretty docile, pretty subservient to the officers. I don't think that he causes problems. I do wonder what he was thinking when they said, hey, hand over these papers. Because we get into it in the next narrative that his cell has tons of books in it, and the papers were tucked into a county issued copy of the Bible. We'll get to that. But I wonder what he was thinking. Like, okay, I have to hand these over. And we're going to get, if you guys have read the poem already, I don't want to spoil it for everybody else, but it's kind of damning. Okay, so we come over here. I requested inmate Sterns to hand over the papers, which he did. I asked the inmate how he obtained the yellow paper, to which he stated that his attorney had provided him with a few blank yellow papers on a prior date. One of the papers turned out to be a handwritten poem labeled for, and it's redacted, but it's for Maddie. I showed this note to Corporal Dinko. That concludes what I was involved during the incident. And then Corporal Dinko, or at least I think we're gonna read this after, okay? Because it's the same one on both reports. Okay, so this one's a little more, I guess, in depth, though it's not really totally in depth, but it's a little broader, or a little more. It's longer. Let's put it that way. On the above date and approximate time, while assigned, again, 2:50 p.m. on the 29th, I was assigned as CPOD housing officer. I was conducting random cell searches in CPOD. During this time, I searched the cell of inmate Sterns, 1419688. I don't think he has a theme song to his number. I'm just kind of making that up. Who is currently housed alone in Charlie isolation cell number 2. Imagine he's in the isolation cell for his own protection. I started by searching the cell carefully, beginning with the table immediately to the right. I went through the books on that table and then checked a stack of books on the floor nearby. Among those books, I found a county-issued Bible with some yellow notebook papers inside it. The yellow paper stood out to me because it isn't commonly found in our facility. After finishing the search of the entire cell, I asked Officer Richards to verify the yellow paper, and he also found it unusual, noting that its contents were strange as well. So if they had found the yellow paper, it probably, and it had, I don't know, drawings of ducks flying over ponds, they probably wouldn't have thought about it much, or maybe a letter to himself saying something innocuous. I don't know. They probably would have been okay with it. But once they read it, they're like, this might need to go to the prosecution. So as we were about to conclude, Corporal Dinko entered the pod to conduct her supervisor rounds. She approached us and began speaking with the inmate as part of a wellness check. Officer Richards then asked the inmate about the note on the floor, and the inmate replied that it was a poem he had written. Apparently, they had dropped it on the floor. Or maybe they're talking about it being inside that Bible on a stack of books on the floor. Okay. The inmate replied that it was a poem he had written. He was then secured back inside the cell, and as we walked away, I asked Corporal Dinko if yellow paper was allowed, but she was unsure and requested to see the papers. I asked inmate Sterns to hand over the papers, which he did. I wonder what he was thinking when he did that. When I inquired about how he obtained the yellow paper, he said his attorney had given him a few blank yellow sheets on a previous visit. And remember that Stephan was looking for, like, he was requesting his parents to send him something to occupy his time, notebooks, blank notebooks that he could write in. One of the papers was a handwritten poem titled For Maddie. I handed this note to Corporal Dinko, who took it with her when she left CPOD. That concludes my involvement in the incident. Okay, let's read what Corporal Dinko said. After closely examining the handwritten note, I noticed a few lines that concerned me. I immediately reached out to Counselor Mendoza from Mental Health Services. Mendoza has been involved with inmate Sterns since he was first brought in because of his high-profile case. After reviewing the note, she agreed with my assessment that it needed to be reported. Counselor Mendoza then evaluated inmate Sterns to determine if he needed additional mental health support. After her evaluation, she concluded that he could stay in his assigned cell without any additional restrictions. Photos were taken of the note and uploaded to the appropriate drive. Due to some concerning content within the poem, it was handed over to Kissimmee Police Department Detective Morris, and a chain of custody form was completed. The report is forwarded to the watch commander and the DRL for review. I don't know what the DRL is. I'm afraid I'm not all that, I don't know, up on corrections department lingo. But, okay, so that is the report. Here is the chain of custody form. So it was given to supervisor, and then the handwritten note was handed over to Detective Morris, who signed for it. And then if we go down here, let me just bring this into view for you guys. So this is the back of the sheet, and there's, I don't think there's anything else on the back of the sheet. I'm going to back way out. This is what it looks like. Okay. That is the back of the sheet. And then you can see through the sheet that there is, writing on the other side. Okay. So the next page, again, looks like this. Has a little heart down at the bottom. Let's read the Mr. Sterns poem, shall we? Okay. The poem is titled Always. I'm thinking, should I check your comments before we read this? No, I want you guys to have this ready for when I check your comments. All right. Always, it's titled. Your hair was like honey, with eyes stormy blue, gone far too soon. I will always miss you. Okay, so in this stanza, it's such a weird construction, but in this stanza, there's nothing that sticks out to me that says that he is guilty of anything. It's just him saying that he recognizes that she is dead and that he will miss her. That's what it says to me. I mean, talking about hair and eyes, okay. I mean, this reminds me of a poem that I would write to a girlfriend in junior high. Your smile was a treasure. Your laughter filled the room. This world is not the same. I will always miss you. Okay, once again, this stanza, recognizing some, of features of Madeline, right? Her smile, her laughter, bemoaning that the world will never be, or is not the same. And once again, finishing out the stanza with a refrain, I will always miss you. Very simple. Okay. This actually kills me. I hate this. I loved you so much. I would have died for you. With no end to my tears, I will always miss you. Okay. There are a couple things there. I don't want to spoil the next one, but a couple things there that bother me. He is the one who took her life. I would have died for you? What does that mean? Why didn't you? Why didn't you die for her, sir? Why didn't you just lay down and die instead of taking her life? And then this whole idea that he loved her. No, he did not love her. He abused her repeatedly and prolongedly 5 years before he then apparently strangled her to death and dumped her in a field. Oh man, my blood is boiling on this, guys. I don't like this at all. Okay, last stanza. As I held you in my arms, My heart died with you. Rest in peace, sweetheart. I will always miss you. That, to me, is a confession that he was holding her in his arms, either as she died or after she died. And of course, him saying, my heart died with you. So does this mean that he is saying that these last two stanzas, I would have died for you, my heart died with you, I held you in my arms. Is he maybe claiming that it was some sort of accident? Like he's not claiming that he did it. He's just saying that he was there when she died and that it killed him. Now, and with no end to my tears and my heart died with you, he does not sound terribly sad when he's on the phone with his parents. I mean, there's that, right? It's just nuts. Okay, as you guys know, if you put a GF in your comment, that helps me to find your comments over here on my side of things. So let's bring up Maddie here. We'll hide this and we will bring up chat messages. Let me just go through what you guys have been saying real quick. Alyssa says, as soon as I see your live, I click so fast. Well, thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate that. Autumn likes my shirt. This was a birthday shirt. This is exactly the third time that I've worn this shirt, and it's got fancy cuffs. But you know what? Don't get me sidetracked, Autumn. What are you doing? It's easy to get me sidetracked. It's not your fault. It's my fault. All right, let's move on. Here we go. Limer, a dillhole. You know the term dip S? He's a dip S. That's the equivalent. That's the kind high school teacher equivalent. Dillhole. All right. Let's see. Crime and Crochet says, Gavin, Stephan Sterns is a weapons grade dillhole. Bonnie likes my shirt too. Holy cow. Mooney, celebrating your 8-month anniversary with the Dillholes poem. Mooney for 8 months. The OG. Good to see you, Mooney. Thanks so much. Damn True Crime Addict also likes my shirt. Okay, I need to get down to where you guys are going to be talking about what we are talking about here. Okay, it just refreshed for me. All right. Oh, Gavin, according to Urban Dictionary, dillhole was originally used on the TV series Beavis and Butthead, presumably because you can't say on TV or a mild insult. I see. So Mr. Thorner was watching Beavis and Butthead in his home. I see. Tanya, so I heard the paper was yellow. They do not allow yellow paper. They asked him where he got it. Lori, yep, it is contraband. Yes, indeed. Okay, here we go. Getting into your comments about this. Okay, Tony says, Gavin, I think this is his cowardly way to confess. He had to know he couldn't hide that in an isolation cell, or maybe he's that stupid. So while he may be a dillhole, I agree with Beth from yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, Beth was amazing. And she talked about like the amount of work that Mr. Sterns, she described it as him having a full-time job of feeding his, particular mental illness, his addiction. And he had convinced several people in his life that, including his parents, if you believe what they say, and I take them at their word, I honestly do. You guys know that I changed my mind after seeing the, Hidden True Crimes interview with them. He was able to camouflage himself so well. Like he was really proficient at it. So I don't think that he was stupid. So was it his cowardly confession, as Tony says, or did he honestly think that he might be able to keep that under wraps? Kind of the whole Shawshank Redemption thing, hide it in the Bible that they gave me kind of a thing, right? Maybe he was thinking that was the safest place for it. Of course, I think most corrections officers have seen Shawshank Redemption or have read the short story in different seasons. So that probably doesn't work anymore. Great comment, Tony. Thank you very much. Erica has not heard the term dillhole in a while. I use it all the time. All the time. And Angela does love the window behind me. I don't know if I can show it all that much, but hey, this is a great time. This is a great time. This is so self-serving, guys. So self-serving. But let me come over to the website. No, that's not. Wow. I've incepted myself. That's not the tab I want to be on. I want to be on this tab. If you click on this little fishy up here, that will take you to the fish tank over on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, head on over to the fish tank and join us. There are, I've shown a couple pictures of my house here in the fish tank. We live in a beautiful old Victorian home. Kimberly and I were just talking earlier today about whether or not we would like to maybe document the things that we're doing to our house. Hold on. You guys are being so patient with me, but I have a picture of my office in here. So I think it must be like way down here. Come on. Page down, page down. Let's see. Let's see. I know there's a better picture of it here somewhere. And I just can't find it. I can't find it, guys. Well, you guys can scour for it. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it. But thank you very much. It is a Tiffany and Company window from the turn of the 20th century. Thank you for that compliment. Okay. Oh, Tanya says, Gavin, this poem just sounds like something written to a lover, not a stepchild. It is gross. Yeah, I think the word gross is the perfect description of it, right? Yeah, he is pining for like a lost love almost, right? He's pining for her. Oh my goodness, you're a treasure. You were gone too soon. This world is not the same. I would have died for you. I held you in my arms. No, that is not the way a paternal relationship is. And you don't have to be a father to be a specific, that kind of paternal relationship, right? But yeah, this is, Tanya, I think that you are, or Tanya, I think you are perfectly spot on. This is something written to a lover, which is completely and utterly disgusting. You are correct. Just Christine, could it be that Maddie was so drugged that she suffocated during one of his sessions with her? So I am not an expert on sexual kinks. Man, if you're watching this and you're an expert on that, that might be, I would love it if you'd reach out. Just reach out to me on my website. Just go over to the website and click this little mail button here. That will take you to a form that you can fill out to get in contact with me. And I would love to talk to you and maybe even have you on the channel, because I'm just not sure. I'm going to bring up Mr. Sterns here while we're talking about this, because I don't want to talk about it with Maddie's face showing. But she was strangled. And to me, that indicates some sort of heat of passion, anger kind of crime. It doesn't seem like it is a byproduct of something that he was into. However, having said that, like, if you are an expert on that, I would love to talk to you because I don't know. But just Christine, I mean, I guess it's possible that Stephan Sterns had her so drugged up that he suffocated her during one. Oh, actually, he didn't suffocate her. He strangled her. And that's different, right? Detective or Officer Brian Bennett came on. Suffocation would be like covering a nose and mouth. Like, oh, that's suffocation. No, he strangled her, right? We know from the reports that it was strangulation. We don't know if it was manual strangulation or if it was, with a garrote or something like that. But yeah, if you're watching and you're an expert, I'd love to talk to you about that. Let's bring Maddie back up. Okay, Nan the Great. And listen, I'm speaking from my own experience. Nan is not the pretty good. Nan is the great. Okay. Nan says, Gavin, I think he wanted to find them in an attempt to evoke sympathy. Well, that's an interesting thought. I don't know though, because the last two stanzas were very declaratory of, like, they're very indicative of guilt, I guess is what I'm saying, right? He held her in his arms as she died. My heart, and his heart died with her. That to me is an indication that it's an indication that he killed her, but it's probably, like, to be more specific, it's probably an indication that he was with her after she was dead. If I wanted to evoke sympathy, I don't think that I would confess something. I would write something like, these first two stanzas: your hair is like honey, your eyes stormy blue, gone too far too soon, I'll always miss you. I don't know, you ran with the angels, and you'd continue on that vein, not like, I would have died for you and I held you in my arms. I don't know. Nan the Great, it's a great comment, and you continue to be great, but I don't know that I agree perfectly. Sure, it's possible. Frida Bird says, ew, dillhole indeed. Ew. I should have sound effects. Where I can, like, I know that I have a couple sound effects where I can be like, oh, did that even play? I don't think that I can do, like, things like that. But maybe I should have the Jimmy Fallon ew thing queued up. Kelly didn't put my initials, but I saw it. He's a devious and compulsive liar. I think so too. Patricia, you disgust me. Andy, Gavin, I'm living for this title. Dillhole should really be used more. Maybe, did you guys see that hilarious sketch on Saturday Night Live? They did the Beavis and Butthead thing. Maybe I have had that. Maybe that evoked some memories, and that word came back to me. Though, honestly, like, over the last 35 years, I've used that. I love that. I love that word. Okay, KC32, bringing Maddie back up. He wasn't holding her. His hands were around her little neck. Bring you back over here. Yeah, he wasn't. You're right. He wasn't holding her. He was not holding her. He was holding her neck. Great comment, KC32. Thank you for that. Jess, Gavin, I about died when you suggested Stephan Sterns had a Jean Valjean song for his inmate ID. I mean, as a theater nerd, I think if I ever go to jail for whatever, I really hope they give me a 5-digit number, because I will definitely sing it. One Man's Trash. Is it possible that this is a message to his parents? A way to tell them what happened? Am I nuts? Yeah, because any conversation that they have is going to be recorded. Well, but then this was found. I mean, if he were to have mailed it to them, it would have been opened and searched, So, but I guess that's your point, right? That it was going to come out no matter what. Maybe. Great comment. Annabelle Roma says, Gavin, I think he hoped that poem would be found. He knows he's getting it for murder. Maybe he thinks the poem makes it look like an accident. Makes it look like an accident. Let me just, Annabelle, before I dismiss your idea, maybe that does make it look like an accident. He didn't say as I squeezed the life out of you, or as I, snatched you from this earth. It says, as I held you in my arms, my heart died with you. Maybe, yeah, Annabelle. Yeah, maybe. That's a great comment. Great comment. And I love that it made me think in a different way than I had been. Thank you for that. Zach in Florida. Always good to see you, Zach. Gavin, everything about this poem is incongruous with who and what Mr. Sterns is. This incongruity makes the words of this poem, I don't like saying poem like it's spelled P-O-M-E, but it comes out of me. My Uinta Basin Rocky Mountainous comes out of me every once in a while. Makes this poem absolutely abhorrent. The incongruity that you're pointing out is that I think is that he is not a loving person. He is not somebody who loved Madeline for who she was. It was what she was that he loved. She was a play toy, right? To him. That's not what she was. But to him, that's the value that he saw in her. And one of the pictures that just kills me, like this picture with her birth father, Tyler Wallace. That is like, look at that little thing. Just a little creature with the flowers in her hair, holding a flower in her hand. All the potential in the world, the same potential that we all have, arm around daddy's neck. That just kills me. It just kills me. And it wasn't too long after this. I mean, in terms of like my life as a 49-year-old man, right? 49? 49. It wasn't too much longer after this that we know of that she was being abused. And probably around this age, she was being abused. And yeah, to him, there was no love. I will always miss you because your toy is gone. That's why he'll miss her, because his toy is gone. He didn't love. He loved her like a child loves their toys. A sick, perverted, gross child loves their toys. There's no love there. Great comment. Great comment. Thank you very much for that. Captain Dillhole for sure. Yeah, he is no mere sergeant, no mere NCO, or even lieutenant. He is Captain Dillhole for sure. Limer says, yeah, Gavin, it sounds like a love letter rather than a simple I miss you. Either way, it's disgusting. Yeah, it really is. Okay, Crime and Crochet says, definitely a confession. He was already in jail when Maddie was found, so he isn't talking about anything else here. I mean, I can see it both ways. I came into this video with that point of view, Crime and Crochet. I felt like it was a confession. Now, is it some sort of like fourth dimensional chess where he's trying to make it look like an accident? I hadn't thought in those terms when we started. And I guess now I think it's possible, but I think the more probable thing is it's to ease his guilt. It's a confession. That's what I think. Emily 53, Gavin, I do not interpret any accident. Okay. He intentionally took her life. I imagine that if he I mean, if he strangled her, yeah, he definitely intentionally did that. 100%. Jackie, thank you very much for the super chat. And I'm sorry that the green does this weird thing, but it says, if his lips are moving, he's lying. He wants to appear as a man in love, not an evil monster. Manipulator 100%. Jackie, great comment. Great comment. And I'm sorry that maybe if we come back over to me, or will my shirt camouflages it way too much. But yeah, that is a great comment. I mean, even his parents said that. If his lips are moving, he is lying. And that is something that Beth said yesterday, Beth Meeks, right? That this guy was a gaslighter. He could convince, especially people like Jen, that the sky was purple. So yeah, and his mom and dad described him as a master manipulator. So great comment. Thank you very much. Angie Mort says, Gavin, that's a pretty damning poem. It's not going to help him in court at all. Just refresh. Let me go back up to where we are here. Goodness. Wow. Going way up here. What? How did I miss that? I missed something. Angie, where are you? I want to get back to exactly where I was so I don't miss out on everybody's comments. But I guess this is where I will go. Telling lies. Again, it's one that's going to be hard to see, guys. Sorry about that. Gavin, any opinion about the possibility that Stephan Sterns was also essayed by one or both of his parents? So there's no indication of that in any reports. We do know that the likelihood of somebody abusing somebody else goes up if they themselves were abused, but it's not always the case that they are. So I don't know that I guess what I would say is the possibility is there, yes, but I don't see actually any indication that it happened. Great comment. Thank you. Laura says, Gavin, or is this the story he's telling himself to feel better? Could be. Could be. Limer says, Gavin, do you think that she had something similar to how kidnapped children end up loving their captor? Yeah, is that called Stockholm Syndrome? Yeah, I believe so. I mean, she was too young to understand what a real loving relationship was. And if she had been abused for 5 years, she would have no idea. She would need to grow and learn and get therapy for a long time to try to figure that out, I think. So yeah, it's possible that she did feel that way. Linda says, Gavin, he's delusional, but also lucid enough to try and sow seeds of doubt with this. Okay. Oh yeah, we did this one. He said something that alluded to that possibility in one of the phone calls from jail. I don't remember that. But I think it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. Lori says, Gavin, he doesn't care if it incriminates him more. He knows he's doomed. He wants to convince himself that he isn't a POS. That is a good comment. Gavin, I thought that poem was found in Jen's house at the beginning. Someone on YouTube was doing a comparison on writing with Jen and SS writing. Maybe I'm wrong. Now, I remember this poem, like I've had it in my possession, this poem, for a couple of months. But honestly, I thought that it was probably the same poem because this happened back in July. We just didn't know who had written it. In fact, I remember long text strings with a couple. one of my mods, a couple of other content creators, wondering who wrote it. I'll have to go back and compare my old file to the new file. That's a great question. Wonder... Christine, did you notice that Sterns wrote over each letter multiple times? Yeah, it does look like he wrote it once and then like made it darker, made it bolder, right? It does look that way. And it looks like maybe this is the third or fourth draft, because it doesn't look like he's scribbling a poem, I guess is what I'm saying, right? He's writing it purposefully in bold print, not cursive or anything. Yeah, interesting. Interview with a friend early on said he and his mom had an odd relationship, if you understand. Well, she did seem like a pretty odd person. Yeah, maybe. I get what you're saying, one man's trash. Bonnie says Gavin, his mother overprotected him and gave him whatever he wanted because of his head trauma. So in turn, he took whatever he wanted as a so-called adult. Yeah, I had this conversation with Beth Meeks offline. But like, I have a cousin who has since passed away. And he was somebody who I really, really loved. I have really fond memories of him, of all of us, him included. Like, we had this almost picturesque childhood, right? It was amazing. I had an amazing childhood. Grandparents and so many cousins and aunts and uncles who were all awesome. And this particular cousin, who has since passed away, was part of that. And ultimately, he just kind of went criminal. He just kind of broke criminal. And, like, honestly, looking at his mom, who had her issues for sure, my aunt, who has also passed away, but who had her own faults and foibles, but also I have so many delightful and wonderful memories of her. So taking into consideration my aunt and my grandparents, who were really more like parents to him, I don't think that my grandparents or my aunt could bear the responsibility of him breaking that way. I really don't. Well, because he has other siblings that didn't, right? They were raised in the same way. So I've had to kind of walk back my thoughts about the Sterns. I have pictures of them here, right? I've kind of had to walk back my idea about them. My original thought about them was that they were co-doctors Frankenstein, who created a monster, and now the monster is loose on the population of Florida. But I think I need to extend them a little more grace than that. Maybe they're a little bit odd. Maybe they had a weird relationship. Maybe she did coddle him and correct for trauma that he sustained as a young man. But a lot of people have been parented that way and don't turn into what Stephan Sterns turned into. It probably didn't help, though. I don't know. Maybe I'm extending a little too much grace, but it's the amount of grace that I wish people would extend to me. Okay, we just got a few more minutes here. Teresa, Mr. Sterns, it's all about saving his life. A ditch effort to make excuses. He is real smart about covering his butt. I mean, maybe. Quincy says, Gavin, it makes me think back to Jen talking about how Maddie wasn't bothered when she and Stephan Sterns broke up. You guys don't kiss anymore. She had probably heard from Stephan Sterns already. Makes me so mad. Oh, that whole situation, that whole household. Ugh. It's pretty gross, right? Like, it's Like, it's gross. Randy says, Gavin, I think he's just playing us. My takeaway from Beth is people like this don't think, process the world in the same way. That is a great comment. Thank you for that. I agree with others posting that he's going to try to say Maddie hurt herself and he found her and that's why he was holding her. Yeah. Have a hard time explaining why he hit her, though. Dumped her. Gavin, do you think Stephan Sterns' parents will spend all their savings on lawyers? I have not checked recently, but the last time I checked, which was a few weeks ago, he was being represented by a public defender. Gavin, do you think this would be shown to a jury? Yes. Yes. Women's Warrior. Gavin, a psychologist on Court TV, suggested that Stephan Sterns was essayed by his mother, I believe. Okay. Mama Llama 74. Just found it. Well, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. In line, JC says, with Captain Dillhole's MO, if his full-time job is what he was doing, he probably is horny as... Oh. Yeah, I reckon the poem was to relive his experience. Wow. Okay, I'm not going to finish reading that aloud, but I get it. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, if his only sexual gratification is through children, I imagine he's having a hard time right now. Agstar Gavin, he could have taken cue from therapy advice of writing down your feelings and under the influence wrote and forgot about its existence. Maybe. Gavin, I think Maddie's photo where she's wearing the dark top with no nose ring has her beauty mark by her nose edited out. This one? Maybe. I'm just looking through here. Yeah, I think it's just... yeah, I think the... what I did was I blew it up because it was a really small thing. I used AI to blow it up, and I think maybe that's an artifact of that. Jeep Girl 51, why do you think Maddie never told her mother? I think she may have. And I think I have such a hard time, even after talking with Beth for like an hour offline and then bringing her on yesterday, even after that, I just have a hard time thinking that Jen couldn't know. It just doesn't seem possible to me. Like, I don't know that Maddie told her mother. I just think that it was known. I don't know. It's really hard for me to think in those terms. It's just so hard. Yeah, Janet says, loved Beth last night. Please bring her back. I talked to her afterwards and she's game to come back. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to stop, guys. Thank you so much for the, for all the comments. Thank you very much for the super chats and for, I mean, we've got a couple of, we got new members, Jen, Kristen, Mooney celebrating 8 months, BC Girl, Telling Lives, and then, of course, the super chats from Jackie Ono and Telling Lives. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. I don't have anything scheduled for tomorrow, but I will be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time right here. I've got a couple of cases that I want to start in on. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be leaving Maddie anytime soon. This case is just, as more and more stuff drips out, there's just so much to talk about. And there's already so much that I haven't talked about already that we could cover this case for a year and not run out of things to talk about. And I think it'd be important to do so. Because again, I mean, Little Miss Maddie is, she's a reminder to us all that these kinds of things are happening all around us. And I want to be more vigilant about it, and I want to learn as much as I can about the case for the sake of other potential victims. So we will stay on Maddie's case for as long as we need to. But tomorrow I've got a couple other cases that I'm kind of mulling through, a couple documents that I want to bring your way. So I will be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Remember that you can always contact me here on my website. Just click that little button right there. Also, if you have not been to my website before, say you're new to the channel, just go to gavinfish.com. There's always a link down below. And I keep very detailed case files on all the cases that I cover, including not just the videos that I do, but all the stuff that we get through Freedom of Information Act requests, Sunshine Law requests, and so forth. So please go to the website. If you're on Facebook, please join us over here on the Fish Tank. We're about 2,900 people, and man, we got like, where are we at? 2,904. So we're coming up on 3,000 folks. So yeah, let me bring that up here. Go over to the Fish Tank and join us there. And if you like this kind of content and you want to be reminded when I go live, Jamie and Autumn over on the Fish Tank send out notifications so you don't have to fully rely on YouTube, which sometimes doesn't send notifications. But still, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. With that, guys, I will bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I deeply, deeply appreciate the time that you spend with me, and I will see you again tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.